All right, get ready to hit to Oxford, Mississippi, play against an Ole Miss team that's charged up and is playing good basketball. They lost a tough one to LSU, but it's the next game on our schedule, and they're playing well. Obviously, we're aware of Terrence Davis and what he's capable of doing. He's had some pretty good games against us. Then Tyree is playing really awful well for that basketball team. And they've added some other pieces to that team, and of course, I think Kermit has done a good job of really utilizing the talents that these guys have. They're, I think, perimeter-oriented, a team of guys that can get 30, they can really score. And then defensively, they mix it up. So I think they're playing awful well at home, and so it's going to be when the Hogs and the Rebels get together, it's going to be a ball game. So it's one of those states that sits next to us. So it's a big game. It's a big game from a lot of different ways. It's an opportunity for us to rebound after playing against a very, very talented Tennessee team that really took us to the woodshed. And what I mean by that, they hit us early. And we contribute to that too. I thought we played on our heels, and so going back out on the road, you don't want to do that. So lessons learned for our basketball team. I think that's the key. When you play against a team of that caliber and they're playing well, you got to play some of your best basketball. And what I like the fight in our guys. I thought we had some guys out there in the second half that you could have folded the tent, but they didn't. And so I'm looking to get that fighting spirit, that kind of mindset, and add execution to it, and go and play against a Ole Miss team that's playing well. It's life in the SEC, and you got to have short-term memory and get ready for those next games.
Physicality that Tennessee played with. How do you fight through the frustrations where you end up getting charged for more fouls than they did?
Well, it's a learning curve for our young basketball team, and I talk about it in practice, and they gripe about it. I have that, no blood, no foul rule in practice, and they gripe about it. But now they see what I mean when I talk about going on the road and playing in a hostile environment. And the officials are human too; they get caught up in it as well. And so, but how do we combat that? We got to have I think a mental toughness and the physical presence that you talked about. We just got to strap it up and go out and fight. I think that's the biggest key. You got to be able to go out and fight.
Welcome in. It's our Friday edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio. It's the A edition of On the Hill each and every Friday. We'd like to bring this to you and get you ready for all Razorback athletics as Arkansas will be traveling to Oxford, Mississippi this Saturday. Tip-off noon. From Oxford, Mississippi, the Ole Miss Rebels and Arkansas Razorbacks will do battle in a yet another big road test for the Arkansas Razorbacks. And I want to get you guys ready for today's show. We always talk fastest 40, and the two we get in touch with is first we're going to have at 1:15, AR Hoops, Kevin McPherson. What does he think has to take place with Arkansas possibly getting its second SEC road victory? And also, too, at the 1:30 hour, Scotty Bordelin. Yes, Scotty Bordelin of Arkansas Democrat Gazette. Yet more fastest 40. We'll talk to Scotty about his takes on what Arkansas has to do to get this win versus Ole Miss. And then we're going to wrap it up at 1:45 with our good buddy of Hogville.net. We're going to talk Arkansas football recruiting with Otis Kirk. He's going to come on, and we'll find out Arkansas's got visitors coming up this weekend, and even more so, there have been some new offers in the 20 and 21 classes. We'll find out who those names are and Arkansas's chances with that with Otis. But all that being said, I want to bring in real quick my producer and co-host, Demetrius. What's up, my man?
Not much, man. Feeling good today. It's a beautiful day outside in Fayetteville.
Our prospects, how's Arkansas going to do tomorrow? How big is this game? They're traveling to Oxford by the history of this series on the road. Arkansas doesn't do too well. I think they've had 8 or 9 wins since they've been in the SEC down in Oxford. What's the prospects of tomorrow? Arkansas coming away with a big win.
I think it's huge. I think they need this win more than ever, not only for morale purposes, but like I've been saying just for the last 2 weeks, just to get this fan base back on their side, just rooting, giving them that extra boost they need, just filling up Bud Walton.
I totally agree. I think if Arkansas can go on the road and steal one, you're home this Wednesday versus Missouri Tigers. You'd be coming in 2-3 with, a little bit more momentum, and I think that's what you have to start looking forward to. Like I said, I'm looking forward to all the changes that are going to be taking place. Will there be new starting 5? All those things are really interested. But we also have Otis Kirk coming up. What will be some of the things you're going to be looking forward to talking with Otis about as far as football goes?
Just his take on Ben enrolling in, and I know he's done a little bit of research on him as far as what he thinks Ben can really bring into this offense with Chad Morris.
I'm really excited to see what Otis says. I've spoken to myself. We own here on the Hill, Demetrius. We cover all aspects, and I was looking at one of our previous shows this week. That Devin Bush interview did quite the expectation that we thought, don't you think? What do you think it was in that Devin Bush interview? And Devin will be making his way to Fayetteville today, en route as we speak. Going to be starting his freshman career in spring ball, his first semester of collegiate the academic and athletic part. We talked to yesterday also to Sidney Moncrief. You said you talked to your dad last night, I guess. What did he take out of that interview? Because I also went back and listened to it and was really, really appreciative for all the information that Sid was able to disseminate yesterday.
Really, he just really spoke on the impact that Sidney had. Really spoke of him as a really highly scouted recruit, and just the impact that he had for the University of Arkansas.
Well, we're going to step away, and what we continue to do is we're going to get you ready for the Arkansas Ole Miss game. We kind of went back and grabbed old game footage from last year's battle in Bud Walton Arena. And while you take a step back with that ball game, we'll follow that up with AR Hoops and Hogville.net's Kevin McPherson. He'll be following that up. It's on the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479.
Got beats. 38th meeting all time. The series began all the way back in 1937. Razorbacks won 32 of the first 38 that were played. Has had a lot more success against Arkansas. They've won 5 of the last 7 against the Razorbacks here in Fayetteville.
Impressive shot by Jalen Barford going down to the block, getting 2 for Arkansas.
Terrence Davis gets the roll, back to a 1-point game.
Back-to-back baskets for Terrence Davis as he has come to play in this ball game here at Fayetteville.
Barford, step back 3. 5 points for Jalen Barford, and the Hogs need it by 4.
So often
Already turned down to 3. Bruce Stevens going to try one, and he's got it.
Ole Miss will show some patience, swing that ball from side to side.
Davis wide open for 3. He rattles one home.
Welcome back in to our Friday edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio. We come to you live each and every day here on KDSJ 479, Monday through Friday from 1 to 2 p.m. And it's time to talk a little fastest 40, a little Razorback basketball as we get you ready for the, big road test. Arkansas travels to Ole Miss in Oxford, Mississippi to take on the Ole Miss Rebels. But we'd like to do it also with another great friend of mine, a guy that does a great job, Kevin McPherson of AR Hoops and also Hogville.net. Kevin, welcome back to the Hill, my man.
Hey, Pat, good to be back with you.
Time to talk a little Razorback basketball. Arkansas, heading to Oxford this Saturday, behind a 3-game losing streak. Kevin, what must the Razorbacks do at noon tomorrow to get off the snide and get back in the win column and kind of start building some momentum in SEC play?
I'll tell you what, there's a lot of things you can point to. One thing that really hurts Arkansas, not only are they the youngest team, we keep talking about that, and I know people get sick of hearing it, but when you are young and inexperienced, even teams that you feel like you can pull the game out, if they've got a little more experience, the one way you can combat that is knock down free throws, because no one can defend that. It's a free shot, and Arkansas is the worst free throw shooting team in the league. So unfortunately, all things being equal, that's been a big problem for Arkansas. Even against Tennessee, when you get down by 30 and you lose by almost 20, lost by 19. Not only was the free throw shooting disparity large, but the Vols shoot 90% at the line, 35 of 39, and Arkansas bumps along 13 of 22. That's in the 50s, and you just can't go on the road and stay in games or hope to win games. So first and foremost, they're going to have to cash in those free throws. Obviously, Arkansas has been a good defensive team all year. The last 2 games against LSU and Tennessee, those are 2 of the best offensive teams in the league. Those teams combined for 200 points against Arkansas in 2 games. And here's Ole Miss, also a very efficient team on the offensive end. Not only are they scoring almost 80 points a game, but they're one of the best shooting teams, not only from the field, but from the three-point line and at the free throw line. So Arkansas is going to have to figure out a way to dig in and have a better defensive outing than they've had in their last 2 games. And then I think the last thing here, Pat, is just making tough plays. They're going to have to be competitive on the glass. They're going to have to win the turnover battle. And again, against a veteran team playing on its home court, that's hard to do. Ole Miss just came off a 10-game winning streak. LSU snapped that. But Ole Miss had 2 wins against top 15 teams prior to the LSU, and we know LSU's good coming into Oxford midweek and beating them. So they're going to be ready to bounce back against Arkansas on their home court.
Kevin, a position that or 2 positions that I think Arkansas, may have to get a little shake-up at is at the point guard and at the 4 spot. It's quite obvious Jalen Harris and Adriel Bailey, massive problems confidence-wise shooting the basketball. I think, when you look at this team, 4 games into the conference season, teams are starting to double team. Daniel Gafford played 2-by-2 on Isaiah and Mason, and just basically sagging back off of Adriel and Jalen. Do you feel like if you're Coach Anderson, you want to go with Reggie Chaney, who's starting to seem like he gets it, and also, too, he and Daniel are starting to really play well. You can see transitions a lot better. And maybe a Desi Seals, a guy that you'll have to respect his three-pointer as he's been, for the most part, consistent with the jump shot. And he's a little bit more physical as far as being able to defend some of the bigger guards in the SEC. What's your take on that, for tomorrow night and going forward?
Yeah, you said it you basically just said it. I understand why Anderson wants to bring Chaney off the bench, because the second unit has provided almost, too many games have had just no scoring punch at all, and he's a guy that can give you some points. Plus, you want to stagger. He tends to get in foul trouble quickly. We know Gafford can, so I think there's some hesitation there to put him on the floor to start games, because you don't have anything offensive-wise coming off the bench at the force, in the front line. If you do that, plus you get if each of them pick up quick fouls, now you're kind of stuck with Bailey and Gabe on the floor together for extended periods of time. So I understand why he's doing that. In a perfect world, if they had a little more depth in that front line, I think Chaney and Gafford would be the play to get, would be best playing together. But we'll see. He may be forced to do that. I mean, you're on a 3-game losing streak. It's time to shake things up. And if not Chaney starting, I'd like to see Gabe get a shot there. Gabe's a better rebounder than Adrio. He's a better defender. He'll take charges. Now he and Adria are kind of stuck in the same boat offensively. They're not very good there. But in the other boxes, I think Gabe checks a little better than Dro. And then the point guard position, Jalen Harris is just not a good three-point shooter. And you're right. Teams are giving that to him. It's caused him some problems. It's affected some of his decision-making because he hesitates either when he shoots. He hesitates when he decides to drive. The defense is laying off and waiting on him. And so he's had a few more turnovers recently and fewer assists. So we'll see if Desi Sills picks up more minutes there. I'm not sure I would tweak the starting lineup there, but maybe. I mean, maybe we'll see two spots in that starting lineup flip on Saturday. I doubt that. If I had to say that there'd be a change, it'd be at the 4, but we'll see. But nothing would surprise me. And you're right; those are the two of the spots that have kind of held Arkansas up in recent games because of the lack of the ability to make teams pay for playing off of those guys and really trying to defend 3 guys with 5. I mean, those guys got to start making shots.
On the more positive side, a guy that I think's played the most consistent, 4 games into the conference season, and you think back several weeks ago, we were talking about this guy being a shooting slump. With that being said, Mason Jones, the guy's been more of a dribble drive, attack, get downhill, attack the rim type of player in the conference season, and basically really goes back to that Texas A&M game. He seems like he's starting to figure it out on how teams are starting to defend himself. Kevin, how, going forward, how big will that be if he's able to continue to attack the rim and draw the double teams? How does that benefit, say, an Isaiah Joe or Keyshawn, and even more so a Daniel Gafford and Reggie Chaney? How will that help if Mason continues to get to the free throw line as he has these last couple games?
Yeah, he's Arkansas's best free throw shooter, the only one over 80%. We mentioned earlier in this segment that Arkansas's not very good at the line. He's a guy that can make teams pay. He's just a good basketball player. He's not the most athletic guy. His talent doesn't measure up with some of these 4- and 5-star guys. Obviously, he wasn't rated like that. He just knows how to play the game. He's a sturdy 6'5" kid that knows how to use that frame to get the driving angles to finish or get to the line. Now, having said that, yes, his efficiency's gone up these last few games. Like you said, it started late against A&M. He'd been really struggling in that game and, helped Arkansas get over the hump there and down the stretch. And then since then, he scored 70 points combined in these last 3 games, had a 30-point game against Florida. One thing I do notice is Mason's requiring a lot of dribble, a lot of pounding the ball to get into his offense. And there's less movement now. So, yes, he's done some good things, but also I've seen some opportunities for others that have been missed because of it. It's hard to knock the young man because he's second on the team in scoring, 9th in the SEC there. He's second on the team in rebounds and assists, so he's doing a little bit of everything. But I'd like to see that ball move a little bit more and him get some more of his off of the sharing and trust of others and not all – and I'm not saying he's just playing selfish basketball. What I mean is the ball movement's a little stagnant, and some of what he does is – head down, pound, and go. Right. Would like to see him mix it up just a little bit more, Pat.
A guy that, I think has played, about as good as to be expected, but still yet I feel like could reach a higher level of basketball, with that being Daniel Gafford. And I know when I say that, listeners that are listening to the show, Kevin, are like, what is he saying? What my point is, do you feel like, Kevin, when you look at at Arkansas defensively, in my opinion, and we had Sidney Moncrief on yesterday, and the big point that he made was he thought Daniel could be a better defensive rebounder, in the stats. Is that something that you see with Daniel as another step he needs to take in his development to get himself ready for that next level?
Well, I think you cut out a little bit. I missed what you said. You said defensive rebound or just defensively, period?
Just defensive rebounds. I think he rebounds really, really well offensively, but Arkansas, over the course of the years had a lot of, problems getting defensive rebounds. Teams are getting a lot of second chance points. Does that fall on the feet of Daniel even more so? I mean, like I said, we had Sidney on yesterday, and that's what Moncrief felt. He could be just a better defensive rebounder.
Yeah, and Moncrief was there on a day when Gafford scored 32 and only had 7 rebounds, and you saw LSU. But I think he makes a good point. Gafford's averaging 9.3 rebounds. That's more than anybody's done in a while, including Bobby Portis and Moses Kingsley. He's second in the league in rebounding, but sometimes stats can lie a little bit. And I think there's some truth to what Moncrief is saying. I mean, Gafford should average a double-double. I know that's putting more on him, but I think part of it is he plays skinny sometimes, and he's built that way, but he doesn't use his frame. He's not as strong as he could be, so I think that leads to a lot of offensive and extended possessions for teams, offensive rebounds, extended possessions.
Well, hey, my man, we love having you on. I'll catch up with you sometime next week, but as always, you have a blessed weekend, Kevin, and thanks for taking time out on the Hill.
Always my pleasure, Pat. Good to be with you, sir.
That was Kevin McPherson of AR Hoops, also of Hogville.net, does a great job covering Arkansas basketball recruiting for Hogville.net. If you want to read all his stuff, you can catch it on there. Kevin just up to the minute basketball recruiting and a lot of analysis. But we're going to step away. We caught up to preview a couple of guys, sophomore center Daniel Gafford and sophomore shooting guard Mason Jones. We'll let you hear what they had to say, and then following those two, we're going to have our good buddy to talk more Fastest 40 versus Ole Miss. Scotty Bordelon of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette will be following that interview. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. Back in a bit.
Questions for Mason?
Mason, just your game has really picked up the last several. What's kind of gone into it with your scoring output?
The game is starting to slow down more for me. I'm starting to see things different than I seen when I was the upper days of the game. So the more I played, the more I see where I can get my shots, the more I seen I can drive and get people open more.
Mason, Isaiah kind of got back on track a little bit at Tennessee. How nice was that to see? And does it kind of change the dynamic of you guys offensively when both of you guys are knocking shots down?
Oh, yes, it do. It gets when knowing that we both knocking shots down on the outside opens up more easy touches for Dan on the inside, so where they don't have to double team him. So us knocking down shots and us getting going on the outside can get Dan going on the inside and all the other players going inside. So it's good to see Isaiah knocking down shots. We knew it wasn't going to be long, so it's good to see him back.
Next question for both guys. What's the takeaway from the Tennessee game? Kind of where are you heading into Ole Miss on Saturday?
The takeaway from the Tennessee game, it was nothing but a lesson game for us. We came out, we came out and played most of the game, but we didn't play all of the game. We got to come out and we got to, have our heads on straight from the beginning to the end. We can't just come out and play, a certain amount of minutes, because there's teams out there that's going to that'll do us just like how Tennessee did us if we do that same exact thing. And I told the guys, I was like, you don't want this to happen anymore. To be a team to get beat by 10+ points. We want to do that to teams. We don't want to be, one of the teams that get that done to them. So, we just got to come out and we got to play basketball.
Like Dan said, we just learned from it. It was good to see. It was kind of good to see how a good team looks and see how good Tennessee and how disciplined they was, because we learned from that. So moving forward, we know we can't come out slow. We know we just got to continue to fight. That's what I loved about that game too. We continued to fight. We was down by 20, but Dan, one huddle, Dan came and just said keep fighting. We just got to keep fighting. So the fight for our team was good for that game. So moving forward, I feel like we don't have to worry about fighting. We just got to worry about coming out strong.
Both of you guys – oh, sorry, Nate. Both of you guys looking at Ole Miss, beat Auburn, beat Mississippi State, lost to LSU. What do you see from them on tape as you guys head to Oxford?
Like any other team, Ole Miss is a good basketball team. Like I said, we got to come in with our heads on straight. We can't come in, playing down to, decent team level. We got to take it to another level, especially when we're going to, another gym that's basically about to be sold out. Like I seen on Twitter today, it was sold out Saturday, so there's going to be another rowdy crowd. We can't let that get to us, just like any other game. We just got to come out and we got to play basketball.
This game right here, we just got to come out strong. We just got to come out fighting. We got to throw the first punch.
Mm-hmm.
Last game, they threw the first punch at us, and we just couldn't recover from it. But this game, we just got to come out ready to go from the jump. We didn't play, 16, 17 games so we know what to do. We know how to come out strong. We can't, like Coach said, we can't spot them points for us to keep fighting, for us to get the fighting. So, like Dan said, we just got to come out ready for the crowd. Don't worry about it, just get a win.
Welcome back. It's our Friday edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio. It's our A edition, as we like to get you ready for all Arkansas athletic events that'll be taking place this weekend. But real quick, before we get into our next interview, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Lindsay and Associates, with an office location in Fayetteville and an office location also too in Rogers. The Beaumont Hotel, located at 735 South Shallow Drive in Fayetteville, and Locomotion, just below the Northwest Arkansas Mall. But it's time to continue on talking Fastest 40. Arkansas is traveling to Ole Miss to take on the Rebels. And we bring in our good buddy, Scotty Borland of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. Scotty, welcome back to the Hill, my man.
Hey, how are you guys doing today?
Doing real good. It's sunny out there. Better weather.
Finally.
But we're hoping things turn out in Oxford if you're Coach Anderson quite well. I know this team, Scotty's looking to get, that bad taste out of their mouths as they've dropped 3 in a row since they got that big opening SEC victory. Talk about some of the keys Arkansas is going to have to accomplish tomorrow at tip-off 12 o'clock.
Well, I think they're going to be they're heading into another rowdy crowd. Like Tennessee was far and away the biggest, rowdiest crowd that they played in front of, all season. And that's going to happen when you go on the road and face like a top 5 team. Like all top 5 teams have just incredible fan support, and it's always just kind of chaotic when you go in there, especially when they're playing so well and they come out and kind of hit you in the mouth right off the bat. Just kind of sets you back a little bit. I think Dan, I saw in the video before I joined, Dan said that the game Saturday at Ole Miss is a sellout, I think, too. He said he saw that on Twitter. So they're going to be, Ole Miss's fans have to be just ecstatic with the way things are going over there with Kermit Davis and kind of how they're playing. So just kind of handling the crowd is going to be a big deal, and I think they have to really slow Breein Tyree. I think he scored 30 on the road at Vanderbilt, I think in their league opener, and he's really dangerous. And Terrence Davis has got a pretty good history scoring the ball against Arkansas. So those are 2 guys I think you have to watch for too.
Scotty, when we met with Coach Anderson yesterday and also with Daniel Gafford and sophomore shooting guard Mason Jones, to a man, the word that I got was be more physical. I think they're starting to develop that mentality. You get into the SEC, and even though you're a young team, you start to figure out you've got to start matching the intensity of your opposing team. Is that something that you expect Arkansas to come out and do Saturday, be more physical in the ballgame?
I think they'll be more prepared to kind of maybe match Ole Miss's physicality. Tennessee's obviously, they're kind of known for being like a really tough and rugged team. Like Kyle Alexander's a pretty solid shot blocker at 6'11". Grant Williams will beat you up, and Admiral Schofield's just, he's chiseled out of stone, and he's kind of a specimen of his own. They're gonna have to punch first, and I think Mason said it yesterday, or maybe it was Dan, one of the players said that Arkansas can't wait until they get punched in the mouth to start fighting. They have to start fighting and take the fight to whoever they're playing, regardless where they're playing. But you really have to do that on the road. Just kind of show Ole Miss that you're not going to back down and you're not going to fold, kind of like you did against Tennessee. Arkansas's got to be more physical, and they've got to try to find a way to keep their forwards out of foul trouble. I think Ethan Henderson had to come into the game the other night because 3 of their forwards had fouled out, and Reggie was the only one that hadn't, and he had 4 fouls. So they've got to kind of manage that a little bit better.
I had a chance to watch the post-game press conference a couple nights ago with Rick Barnes, through all the foul problems, he kind of had a little uncomfortableness and said that Arkansas came out pretty much stat-wise and percentage-wise won the second half. We came back in yesterday, and Mason, I believe, made a really good point that they learned. They were able to watch what a good team really looks like, how they execute. How can this be beneficial for such a young team when you make statements and see things like that going forward if you're Coach Anderson, that squad?
Yeah, I think the statement that Mason made yesterday that I think Tuesday was good for them because they got to see what a good team looks like. Like that could be maybe taken the wrong way. But I said yesterday on our podcast, that's kind of like a sophomore way of saying that, hey, we saw what the standard is. We now know what how far we have to climb to kind of get there. I think that self-awareness is important. With a young team, you have to be self-aware and you have to know what you need to work on and what areas you need to better yourselves in. That's really important. So I think that kind of caught me a little bit sideways a little bit when he said that, but thinking about it, like you kind of had to translate it a little bit, but his point was taken. Like you know now that you've got a little ways to go. So now, I guess between now and the end of the season, that's kind of what you're working toward.
When you look at production in the SEC through 4 games, it's quite evident at the point guard and also at the 4 spot. Production for the Razorbacks is really not what you need, and it direct result you're 1-3. When you look at this, is it time, if you're Coach Anderson, to go ahead and insert Reggie Chaney, who seems to be he's figured it out, Scotty, and you can tell that he and Daniel work really well in transition. Is it maybe also at the point guard spot? Once teams have realized that Jalen Harris doesn't have a lot of confidence in his jump shot, they're sagging off. Maybe would you insert a Keyshawn Embry-Simpson, or could it also be Desi Seals, guys that you have to respect their scoring ability, and also, too, from a physical standpoint, are a little bit bigger to take on those guards in the SEC, because we know you got to be physical in this conference.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've kind of been a big component I've written several times about how Reggie and Dan play so well together. And I know I probably say it every time I come on this show, but they really do complement each other. And I think Mike said it yesterday. So I think they figured that out. There's no doubt in my mind that they know that those two guys work well together. The thing is, like, if you put Reggie in the lineup alongside Dan, that kind of maybe depletes your secondary guys coming off the bench, maybe your forwards, as you'll have a struggling Adriel, who I found out yesterday is shooting 26% since the Colorado State game, and you've got Gabe coming off the bench too. So that's not exactly a strong point for your forwards coming off the bench. But I mean, I don't know. I think it maybe is time. You maybe see Desi put in the lineup. Keyshawn's an interesting case for me because I think that he's capable of scoring. He's in high school. I mean, he's scoring 26, 28 points a game, and he's 2 out of 17 from the floor in conference play, and that's not going to cut it. And so big thing with him, if he wants to be on the floor, he's got to make shots, and he's got to defend a little bit better, and maybe cut down on some of the silly turnovers, some of the freshman turnovers, I think. But yeah, it may be time to see a little bit more out of Desi, and that could mean, maybe a starting role.
A young man we hadn't seen much of, but in the short time that he got Tuesday night, I think Coach A gained a little confidence in that being Ethan Henderson. Ethan maybe a little light, in the britches, but athletically and lengthwise, I think going forward would be a real good asset, as far as going to get rebounds and being that guy that, unlike Gabe, he's not going to go try to be an offensive player. He's going to understand his role and understand it's more needed on the defensive end of the floor. Can you see more of a role, with Saturday and going forward for Ethan Henderson?
Yeah, potentially. I know you mentioned that could be the case yesterday when you and I talked at the press conference. I mean, I don't think I'd be opposed to it. Just the forward production that you're getting just outside of Daniel and Reggie is just really lacking, I think. And, Adriel and Gabe are obviously, they're a little bit more veteran players than Ethan is, obviously. So he's gotten very little playing time. But I mean, you kind of like his potential. Like he's very, very raw. Like we know that, and he's not probably going to be a guy that's going to knock down like a free throw line jump shot or short corner jump shot. But any help that you could potentially get, rebounding, shot blocking, I think that's a big positive that he could bring, just given more opportunity. And I mean, at this point, I think you've got to try to maybe go out, think outside the box, and kind of throw away maybe some of the original plans that you had, if you want to salvage this, and just maybe go in that direction and see Ethan, let Ethan play a little bit more and try to figure some things out.
Well, Scotty, as always, man, love having your insight on. I keep writing those great stories and bringing the up to the date information, when it's fast as 40 concerned. But have a great weekend, bud, and thanks for taking time out on the hill.
Yeah, you bet. Y'all have a good weekend.
That was Scotty Borderland of the Arkansas Democrat Gazette, talking more Arkansas Ole Miss. We had a chance, for those that didn't catch yesterday's show, and we want to bridge in between our next guest, Otis Kirk of Hogville.net. We're going to talk a little recruiting, football. But if you didn't get a chance to hear our interview with Arkansas Hall of Famer and new collegiate basketball Hall of Famer, Sidney Moncrief, I'm going to give you a little tidbit as to what took place and some of the things Sidney had to say. Here's the tidbits, and when we come back, Otis Kirk of Hogville.net. He's up next. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins. It's the A. Back in a moment. A guy that I've had a chance to watch both collegiately and at the NBA level. Sidney Moncrief, Super Sid. Welcome to the Hill, my man.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I appreciate you having me on the show, Pat. How are you doing today?
I'm doing real good, always blessed. But Sid, I want to get off into this basketball, in your opinion. You've had a chance to watch basketball grow during your time here at Arkansas in the NBA and during your time as a coach. Talk about how it's grown from your vision.
Yeah, I think that the game has certainly evolved because, one, more kids are playing because of all the different programs that you didn't have back years ago. Certainly, it's a lot more exposures. Fans know high school basketball, follow the track from a high school player to what college they attend. We can't underestimate the three-point line and what it's done to college basketball. Made it more of an outside game as opposed to when I played, it was inside and outside, or it was what we call inside out, go inside the post first, kick outside for jump shots. Now it's creating opportunities through a lot of pick and roll plays, pick and pop plays, and stretching the defense. So certainly some changes has occurred in the game of college basketball.
What are some things that you would have liked to have implemented during your time collegiately?
Not a lot, really. I don't think the game has gotten better. I don't think it's gotten a lot worse either. I think it's pretty neutral. The only thing, I can't even say the three-point line, because I think the three-point line has helped or hurt the development of players. Because players don't really develop a total game. So much emphasis is put on the three-point shot. Years ago, you had inside players, you had outside players, you had players that played medium-range basketball, a little bit more variety in offenses and what you saw from the offenses on the offensive end of basketball. But now it's mostly threes, pick and roll basketball. So probably not anything that I see now that I would like to have seen in the game when I played.
When you watch high school basketball, so much is being placed on the AAU programs nowadays. Where are you at? Because, there's, over the last few years, so many guys, they call them handlers. There's been, kids getting, in bad situations. Is that a situation that you see getting a lot worse? Or how can we solve the situation with AAU and collegiate coaches?
Well, we know AAU has value, so you can't say do away with AAU. It has value. Certainly, I think I'm still a traditionalist. I like the fact when junior high school coaches, I'm going to use this word, control the career somewhat. of players when they have the player's best interest. But one thing the AAU does is if there's a relationship there with the coach that's not conducive for the player, they have other outlets to still express themselves as basketball player, possibly get a scholarship and move to the next level. But you asked me what needs to be done. I think the tennis shoe companies need to get out of AAU basketball totally. That would be one thing I would do because they have, I think, too much influence. Players, coaches, decisions are made based on the tennis shoe companies, not based on what's in the best interest of the young person. I think they should have more training and development for coaches. If you coach AAU basketball, there needs to be more things put in place to make sure that you're teaching and coaching the game in the right manner, where you're not injuring the kid fundamentally or emotionally or otherwise. I think those would be two things that I would recommend that would change in that program.
Here over the last few years,
give us a one and good, and we'll come in.
Individual in collegiate basketball has started off real rabid. See, it kind of it's slowed down. Where are you at with the one and done? Do you feel like it's a good thing for college basketball, and also too? Welcome back. It's our Friday edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio. It's our A edition here on OTH as we come to you each and every day, Monday through Friday, from 1 to 2 p.m. And we hadn't talked to him in a while, but you know, Arkansas and recruiting is starting to heat up as Coach Chad Morris and his staff will be hosting visitors. Welcome in. Our good buddy, Otis Kirk. Otis, welcome back to the Hill, my man.
Hey, thanks, man. Just waiting for Jalen Catalon to make his announcement and then working away.
I know that's going to be a big one at 3:15 as Jalen will be announcing between, I believe it's Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas, and TCU. But a big gentleman, big-time recruit they have on his way en route to Fayetteville is Devin Bush, a guy that Arkansas really was glad that they got to be a Razorback. Talk about Devin and how that's going to help this team going forward with him being able to come in at a position of need and get an early jump.
Yeah, he's here now. He's big cornerback. I mean, a kid that's got good sight, should be able to be physical with wide receivers, not just tall, but muscle build and stuff. So, I mean, he's really what you need in the SEC to go against some of the bigger wide receivers that you're going to play. I like him. I think he's got a chance definitely to play this coming season. And I think he really helped himself by coming in early. I think that gives him – well, it's going to give him a chance to work out with the team and then have 15 spring practices, which we all know that helps everybody.
If you're Coach Cooper, Coach Chavis, and that defensive side of the ball, how excited are you to have both Devin and Greg Brooks, two guys that you got there in the early signing period? You got those guys to sign late. Greg flipping from Mississippi State. You know you have two future cornerstone cornerbacks in Greg and Devin. But if you're those guys, how much of an advantage do you think this will be when you're finding out what they can and can't do as far as figuring if those guys will be counted on to play this upcoming season?
Well, I think it's huge in the sense that, you got Ryan Pulley going to the NFL. Chevin Callaway didn't come back. So, you've got Jarquez McClellan and Monteric Brown and a few guys out there at cornerback. But this gives you two more options this spring that you can get them ready, because they're going to probably have to play this fall. I mean, almost certainly going to have to play. And it gives them a chance to, I'm sure Cooper and Mark Smith, Chavis, and those guys are all excited as they can be about it, because that was a need. Defensive back, we've talked about line on here on both sides of the ball, but defensive back was a need as well. And, they've got those two guys. They've got, they can see what they can do. And then this fall, you may have you'll have Malik Chavis come in, may have Adonis come in as well to compete there too.
A big get they got over the weekend, Ben Hicks, a former starting quarterback for Chad Morris, Joe Craddock, and that offense staff during their 2 years prior to coming to Fayetteville and here at Arkansas. How big is that, Otis, to be able to get a guy in Ben Hicks, not so much for next year, but for KJ Jefferson, Connor Nolan, you know, the years going forward, to have a guy that's been in this system, you know, when the bullets were flying, you know, how big is this for those two guys to learn from being?
Well, I think it's big, and I think it was necessary that Arkansas got an older quarterback. But I thought they might try to get a dual threat, and Ben's not a dual threat. But, you know, I think he was the best available quarterback. I think it's a deal, too, where Chad Morris, Joe Craddock, and those guys are comfortable with Ben. He's comfortable with them. You know, most of the quarterbacks that they were on, you know, had ties other places and stuff. So I think it was definitely a need to get an older quarterback in here. And the available ones, Ben Hicks, I'm sure, was probably the best once you got past Kelly Bryant. Then Jalen Hurts had no interest here. So the next one, pecking order, I guess, was Ben Hicks. And then you had the kid from Buffalo who went to the NFL. So, you know, I mean, Ben Hicks brings a level of comfort, knowledge, not just to the position, but to play, but as you said, to teach these younger guys, KJ, Connor, John Steven, and those guys, some of the things and, you know, what it takes to be successful in Chad Morris's offense.
We've got about 2.5 minutes, so I'm going to try to pack in a few questions, and I know you can do it. But first of all, you know, the visitors coming in. Talk about this weekend, the visitors who will be here officially. And also, too, Arkansas over the week has put out a few offers in the 20 and 21 classes. Talk about a few of those names, and then we'll let you wrap it up.
Well, I mean, you got Hudson Henry and Treylon Burks are coming in this weekend among the 7. Those are, I think, are the 2 best players in Arkansas. And you can put Hudson 1, Burks 2, Burks 1, Hudson 2. It doesn't matter. Those are the 2 best players in the state of Arkansas, in my opinion. I've said that from day one. I thought those 2 kids were just as good as it comes at their position. Ricky Stromberg is coming over from Tulsa Union, offensive lineman who signed. Marcus Miller signed with early defensive lineman from Warren. We like them. A kid that I love is John David White, wide receiver from Pulaski Academy. He's coming in. Yeah, he's good. I saw him play twice live this season, and he's really good. And I'd like to see Arkansas. He's got scholarship offers. He wants to go where he can get a scholarship. I'd like to see Arkansas try to do something with him, maybe like they did with Ty Clary and Hayden Henry, you know, where maybe he gets a scholarship at midterm. Then Finn Corwin, and you know, is coming in from Dallas Highland Park, blah, blah, blah. I went blank on it. And then you've got Hudson Clark, the defensive back from Highland Park as well. So, yeah, those are 7 kids that's coming in. Those are the last 3 are preferred walk-on offers. And then Monday, I might add real quick, you know, Arkansas's got Morgan Hanna coming in from Greenwood on a visit. He will visit TCU and Alabama after that, Pat. Right. So he's got a preferred walk-on offer to all 3 of those. Well, to Alabama and TCU should get something from Arkansas on Monday.
Well, Otis, as always, I'll let you get ready for that big announcement with Jalen Catalone. I know it's going to be something. If he chooses Arkansas, you're going to have a big-time story to write. But as always, my man, have a blessed weekend. Continue to keep up doing that great job. And for those that you don't get a chance to catch Otis's articles, you can catch him on hogville.net each and every day. As like I said, you want to know about Arkansas recruiting, that's who you get it from. Okay is what I'm going to start calling you. But Otis, thanks for taking time out over here.
Have a good day, Pat. See you guys.
All right, bud. Well, that's going to conclude today's It's our Friday edition. We're going to wrap it up. We'll be back Monday. Arkansas will host, or Arkansas travels to Ole Miss to take on the Ole Miss Rebels. Tip-off is noon. I believe it's on the SEC Network. We're going to have a great weekend. We're going to relax this weekend. I'm going to catch a little high school basketball. Come out if you're not doing anything. Springdale High, Fayetteville High School, Battle of the Bulldogs, and there's a lot of 7A West. So if you're not doing anything, get out and see your local high school athletes and support them in your communities. But that's going to wrap us up. I want to give a thank you to our guest, Kevin McPherson of AR Hoops, and also of Hogville.net, Scotty Borderland of the Arkansas Democrat Gazette, and lastly, you heard him, my man Otis Kirk of Hogville.net. Give a shout out to our sponsors, Lindsay & Associates, with an office location in Fayetteville, an office location also too in Rogers, the Baymont Hotel, located at 735 South Shiloh Drive, and Locomotion, located just below the Northwest Arkansas Mall. And I want to give a thank you to my producer, co-host, Demetrius Johnson, and from all of us here at Old Hill. You guys have a blessed one.